Hey, Personal Effectiveness Coach Keith Young here, and I'd like to welcome you back to another version of Life Changers Conversations. So we're almost 3 months into the year now, so how are you doing on your goals that you set at the beginning of the year? Now, there are some people that I talk with that are continuing to make big gains on their goals and building momentum, while there's others that are struggling, especially when it comes to developing new positive habits that they want in their life. So in this conversation, I'd like to talk to you about how to make new habits stick and why it's harder than you thought and what you can do about it. Now, I'm sure you have probably heard that it takes 21 days for a new habit and maybe 30 days at the most to form that new habit. You can just muster up that willpower for 3 or 4 weeks and bingo, you have it. Well, that's not really true. But I have found that anyone struggling to form a new habit knows there's a lot more to that story. Have you ever tried to create a new habit before, or maybe break an old habit that no longer serves you? Now, I know in the past that when I've tried to create new habits, it took a lot longer than 21 days moving from one bad habit into a positive habit that becomes automatic. So it turns out that 21-day rule is nothing but a myth with practically no scientific basis whatsoever. Maybe if you're trying to do something that is very simple and easy, then it might work in 21 days. Because the goal is to make them automatic. So how long does it take to acquire a complex or challenging habit that will benefit you in moving you towards your goals? Now, there are researchers that at the University College of London track people from attempting to form different types of new habits. And they found that instead of 3 or 4 weeks, it took an average of about 60 days for new habits to become automatic, and projected that in some cases would take more than 250 days. Now, I know what you're thinking. Holy crap, Batman. Are you telling me it might take a full year to take a new habit to take hold? Well, it just depends on what you're trying to change and how ingrained some of those old habits may be. People usually will give up or get frustrated and discouraged before even the average of 60 days comes along. We live in a microwave society today where we want it now. So I would like to help you get over that frustration and discouragement with 6 simple tricks to help make it even the tough habits stick and become automatic. You are probably reading those numbers again or listening to those numbers that I just described above, and you're just groaning. And believe me, I get it. Now, I bet that you would probably rather succeed against the odds and then settle for a fantasy and get nowhere. And I'm with you on that. So here's the good news. There are several tips and tricks that you can use to make even a tough habit become automatic. Are you ready? Let's go. Number 1, stay connected to your big why. To form any new habit, motivation is the key. If you get lost in the monotony and difficulty of forming a new habit, you're probably not going to make it. You may start out strong, but the messy middle usually will swamp countless goal seekers. Having a compelling why usually will prevent you from burning out or losing interest and finally just giving up. Make sure your why you are wanting this habit, is compelling enough, and if it isn't, then swap it out for something that will get you excited. Number 2 is to find the right trigger. Triggers are important in creating new habits, and sometimes we'll struggle because we're using ineffective cues for our new habits. Use implementation intentions, which are simple statements that formulate our habits as responses to a predetermined trigger. So let me give you an example. Let's say, if I get hungry before dinner, then I will have some almonds, or I'll have a snack bar. This is especially effective when you are tacking new habits on the back of already formed habits. So another one might be, after I finish lunch, I'll go for a brisk walk for 15 or 20 minutes. This will help the right thinking and help you think this out because your response is already predetermined, so you don't have to stop and think about it. So get those responses made before you then think of something else that will keep you stuck in that old habit. Number 3 would be to choose the right reward. Not many of us want to reward ourselves or think about rewards. Your why and your reward are very closely linked together, but the reward could be maybe smaller and more immediate incentive. And it is usually best to find the type of reward, such as the way your new behavior will maybe make you feel. External rewards can also work, but can be less effective in the long run, especially if we lose interest in the reward itself. That will demotivate us, and then we'll slack off, and usually we're not even aware that we're slacking off. So number 4 would be to anticipate your reward. The big win here is when we start anticipating our reward. When we anticipate our reward, this will move the reward from merely being an incentive to a more powerful source of our energy and drive to keep us going. It's like having the difference between having to take your medicine or having another scoop of your favorite ice cream. Now, I experienced this once with changing a habit from getting very little exercise to exercising 3 or 4 times a week. I usually feel better once I exercise, and that is the reward for at least getting me started. Now I just look forward to that feeling after exercising, and I anticipate that gets me fired up before I even start exercising. Number 5 would be to scale it back. Here's an issue that I find with a lot of people that are wanting to change a lot of things. Do not load too much onto your plate at any one time. That will get you into trouble. This is very easy to do, so be aware of that. And I encourage setting big goals, but sometimes in our enthusiasm, we might slip from being aggressive to being delusional, and only to realize that after we hit the wall. Be aggressive and set big goals, but then take that big goal, chunk it down, and then see your habit formation and set milestones along the way. This way, our habits then become stepping stones instead of obstacles or roadblocks. Now, the last tip is to travel with your friends. I have found one of the best ways to get through that messy middle swampland is to have companionship. Almost any journey can be improved with friends along for the ride. That's one of the reasons my wife and I do a lot of things together. This is one of the key factors in creating any new habits. Even having an accountability buddy is very, very helpful. There was a Harvard study that found that forming habits in community makes significant change more believable to us and thus becomes more achievable. By working together with friends, we can mutually reinforce the positive behaviors and encourage each other, and also share the burdens along the way. So if you have set goals and are struggling to make new habits stick, then welcome to the club. But instead of being discouraged, I hope you will be relieved that you are not doing anything wrong. Do not be judging yourself against that 21-day rule. And please feel free to put it in that scrap heap. Just stay committed to your goal and then commit to your why. Why are you doing this thing? And continually fine-tune your triggers and your rewards and get a pal or friend to help you with your journey. You're probably closer than you think for your new habit to become automatic. And as always, life is not about finding yourself, but life is about creating yourself. Go about creating the best life and you possible. This is Personal Effectiveness Coach Keith Young here, signing off for now. See you in the next conversation.